Hello friends, this is Christian Wiese. Today I have an important question for you. Why is awakening so hard? I'm actually not talking about the initial stage of awakening, which is just a little confusing. It's very exciting, to many at least. Suddenly spirit makes contact and does crazy things, and our world is being turned upside down. And yes, it's confusing, but in a sense in a positive way. Nothing that a little reading up or watching a few videos or something like that can't solve. There are always a few initial roadblocks, but once again those can be worked on, and that's really not what I mean. What I really mean is, and that happened to me as well, there comes a time when one feels, well, one has been on that road for so long, why can't one make it complete, the transition complete, just like the big guys that always tell us so simple truth, and when they say it, it sounds so simple, yet when we try to make it true in all areas of our life, not just that special place where we always feel happy, like being in the forest or being with special friends or doing what we really love doing, but really in all the areas, with our family, at our workplace, with our neighbors, whatever it might be. There's always one little area, or health, for some people it's health, and there's always some area where there seems to be some resistance, and then we asked, I've almost figured it out, why not 100%? And while I of course can't give you a simple answer in 4 minutes, I do want to give you one truth which you already know, but it's so powerful that it's worth repeating. And that is, when the sun shines on you, you are complete. When the sun shines on you, when you are in the light, you are as enlightened as anyone. It's just when you step out of the light, when suddenly some issues arise. But why don't we stop there first and just celebrate the fact that we already are complete? Because we don't do this. We instead play the game, oh, I need to know the secret. I need to know the Holy Grail. There will be that day when I will be as enlightened as Eckhart Tolle. I just need to work a little harder. I just have to be a little smarter, which is all the mind talking. It's complete nonsense, because the right observation is here right now, as you and I are talking, here and now, as the light is shining on me, I am complete. There is nothing that is missing. Why don't we celebrate that fact? I think that's already a huge insight. I found a quote from Adyashanti this week, which I thought was just stunning. It sums up what I've been trying to say in those videos. For the longest time, I even tried dance moves to communicate what's on my mind, with limited success, I might say. So let me read it out. We're not bringing struggle to an end. We're not trying to struggle anymore. We're just noticing that there's a whole other dimension to consciousness that in this very moment isn't struggling, isn't resentful, isn't trying to get somewhere. You can literally feel it. You can't think your way to not struggling. There isn't a 3-point plan of how not to struggle. It's really a 1-point plan. Notice that the peace, this end of struggling, is actually already present. Adyashanti. Now that's really beautiful. It speaks to the idea that there is, and now I try my dance move again, there is always, at every point in time, that positioning, that repositioning, that little pivot that you can take, and suddenly you completely step out of the movie that the self plays with itself. and you're suddenly part of that oneness. It's not out of a body experience because you're in your body experiencing it. It's also not the witnessing consciousness, which just sounds a little boring. No, it's just you're part of the stream of life, and at the same time, you're out of it. And it's a beautiful moment of oneness. If you watch this video, I'm sure you have experienced it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And the question that you have is, well, yes, but how can I always be at that moment? Well, why don't we start with the question, who is asking, why can't I always be at this moment? Why instead not just enjoy this very moment? This moment when behind me the birds are singing, when the sun is shining, when we have a beautiful autumn day here. I don't know where you're located. That's already so beautiful. Why are we talking about enlightenment? So that's really the confusing part. The confusing part, the reason why this journey, this quest sometimes feels so endless is because we are just looking at the finger of the master that points to the moon, and we are not looking at the moon. It is our spiritual intellect that tells us to get enlightened. It's our spiritual intellect that tells us that Eckhart Tolle is so cool, or whoever else is so cool, and we are so little, and whatever the spiritual intellect is telling us. When in fact, if we could start with that actual moment when we're actually experiencing oneness, and then become mindful of the time when we are not. That, I think, is already huge. I have very little to say on that time when the self hangs out with itself, whatever the issue might be. Actually, I would almost say all the classic stuff of you being too lazy, you being too angry, you being too greedy, you being too whatever it is that you're telling yourself, that's almost the easy stuff. Actually, I'm pointing my finger. I think that's really important. This is a scoundrel. The classic human struggle that we have our issues is not the big struggle. The big struggle is that finger, the finger pointing to the moon. The spiritual intellect is really the problem, in my humble opinion. But good luck communicating that to anybody, because, boy, you're disagreeing with years of deep research and years of devotion towards somebody, or somebody who lived in the past. You make yourself an enemy very quickly if you start doing that. It's not that they were bad. Of course they were as good, or are as good as they are. Well, most are, not everyone, but most. The problem is your spiritual intellect is taking you for a ride. So the answer to all issues is mindfulness. You don't need mindfulness when you're connected to that moment of oneness, but you need mindfulness when you struggle. You need mindfulness when you do your spiritual research. You need mindfulness when you give lectures. You need mindfulness when you help people. You need to understand the games that self plays with itself. And when you do that, it actually becomes very easy, because it gets easier and easier to just do that. Just a little, oops. Why do I again try to do God's work? Why don't I let just life do its thing and I get out of the way? As literally the light, oneness, grace, however I want to call it, is literally always one step away. And all we have to be mindful of is the struggles that self puts up with itself, whether it's complaining about our human desires or whether it's about our desire to get enlightened. It's all the same thing. It's all not real. Only this is real. The moment when we are part of that stream without being part of it. But once again, I think given that you had probably experienced that moment, focus on that. That would be my advice. Otherwise, the advice I would give is threefold. Number one, respect your life force. Do not fight yourself. Number two, get yourself out of the way. Self spelled with a small s and way spelled with a capital W. And number three, be mindful. With those three pieces of advice, I think you're pretty much already 98% enlightened. And if for the rest of the life you have to work on the other 2%, then so be it. All right, I apologize for my voice. I've just recovered from a nasty flu. But nevertheless, I thought that was important to share. So I wish you a great weekend and see you next time. Bye.